So let's look at some different examples of how to plot numbers on the complex plane. So we're plotting complex numbers on this plane where the horizontal axis, remember that is our real axis, where it's just our normal real numbers, and we have negatives to the left. And our vertical axes, that's the main difference here compared to the XY plane. This is what we call our imaginary axis. So we're going to go up and down in multiples of that imaginary unit where, remember, I is just the square root of -1. So going down, this first tick mark is at -I, then -2I, -3I, and so on. Let me just rewrite that really quick. And for our example problem, we need to plot the point -1 plus I. So remember that first number without I in it, that's our real part. And that second number with I in it, that's our imaginary part. So in some sense, it's almost like plotting on the XY plane where this -1 plus I is going to be at the point -1 for our real part. And this is just 1I. So you can think of it at the point -1, 1 on this complex plane. Though you won't often see it written like this. It's more likely just to be written as a normal complex number. So let's plot this point. We're going to go over 1 to the left in our real coordinate axes. And then we're going to go up 1 for the imaginary axis. So -1 for the real and then plus I for the imaginary. And so this point here, -1 plus I, will be right here on our complex plane. So let's do some more examples. And for this one, we need to plot the number 1 in the complex plane. And remember, when you just have a real number, like 1, it just doesn't have an imaginary part. Or in other words, its imaginary part is 0. So when we plot this, we will not move in the vertical direction. We're going to be on this horizontal axis here. And we're just going to move over 1 to the right, since this is at the real coordinate point of 1, since we're just going to use the normal scale by 1 for this axis here. So 1 is right here. So a number like -3 would also have 0 for our imaginary part. That would be right here on our coordinate plane. So let's keep going with these. And for this one, we have a purely imaginary number, so 8I. And for these, when you have just something with the imaginary unit, it has 0 for the real part. So it does have a real part, it's just the real part of this is 0, which means when we're plotting this, we won't be moving left or right. This is just going to be on our imaginary axis here. So we move 0 when going left and right, and then we're going to go up 8 units in the imaginary direction. And it looks like we just have 7 tick marks here. So I'm going to change the scale to going up by 2I every time. So right up here will be 8I. And essentially this point is right here on the complex plane. So any number that is purely imaginary, like let's say -4I, that's just going to be on our imaginary axis. So we won't go left and right because it has 0 for the real part. Whereas its imaginary part tells us to go down 4 on the imaginary axis, and we're going by a scale of 2. So this is -2I, -4I. So that point, or this complex number, will be right here on our complex plane.